Thanks everyone for joining in, taking the time out to be part of this session, especially one that we have specifically curated for the QA community. When we sent out the call for speakers in the IME region, we were very impressed with the responses we got from the QA community. It was almost on par with the number of responses we had received from the developer community. So it goes to show that I feel like AIFSD has really creeped into the work that our QA folks are doing in India for sure. Amongst that, we were very thrilled to pick this group of vibrant speakers. There was a lot of interest amongst the QA community, especially around the topic of MCP. So we were very happy to see that come in from this group. So over to you. We have a fairly packed session. I'll request you all, the speakers, to take it from here.
Okay, hello everyone, good afternoon. We are a group of 4 QA enthusiasts from Pune, Mumbai QA community, and today we are really excited to explore something that's reshaping uh, how we can think about AI-powered testing and tooling. So it's all about how we can empower the QA community with customized MCP server. So before we dive into demos, let's first understand the basics. Yeah. So what exactly is an MCP server? So basically, definition wise, MCP server is the brain behind the AI assistant that keeps memory, manages tools, and ensures secure, consistent responses across user sessions. So imagine this. You are in a fancy restaurant. Each table is served by a smart and well-trained waiter. Now, think of the restaurant as your AI application, the waiter as the MCP server, and the chef in the kitchen as the LLM. For example, take ChatGPT 4. So, let's walk through this analogy together. You sit at your table and tell your waiter that I am allergic to peanuts. I like mildly spicy food and I am in the mood of something vegetarian. This is similar to how you give context to an MCP server. It gets all the preferences, previous interaction of yours with it, maybe even your role as a user. So now the waiter goes to the kitchen and passes this all information to the chef. The chef just cooks based on what the idea that the chef just cooks based on that. No idea who you are or what you like. Same with LLM. It simply generates output based on what the MCP has passed along. But here's the magic. When the dish comes back, it's tailored exactly to what you wanted because the waiter or MCP structured and passed the right context. And if you come back a week later, the same waiter remembers your preferences and choices and build on them. That's how MCP enables memory and personalized context across the sessions, something LLMs can do on their own. So, to summarize why we do need an MCP server, let me quickly highlight all the key benefits. So, first, it manages the tool calls, like saying, hey, LLM, use this API or this calculator, and controls when and how it is used. It gives security and access control, making sure models only act within trusted and approved boundaries. It helps standardize your assistant's behavior so it behaves consistently and less hallucinating, whether it's answering support queries or maybe writing test case. So it basically provides observability and debugging. So you know exactly what the model did, what tools it has used, and why it has used it. It also enables safe experimentation, letting you test different prompts or tools configuration without breaking the app. It supports multi-device continuity, So your assistant works smoothly across mobile, web, or anywhere the user logs in. And finally, it simplifies the development. You don't need to manually manage prompt formatting or memory logic. MCP does that for you. With that foundation, I'll now hand over to Shakuntala, Sushant, and Rashmi, who will take you through how we can build and use customized MCP servers, especially tailored for QA use cases. Let's dive in. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Payal. Yeah, first, hello everyone. Myself Shakuntala. I'll be first discussing on why we need an MCP server. So, as a QA, is like we in day-to-day life, we need to perform repetitive tasks like creating the test cases. Also, we need to link the test cases to the stories, and we need to execute the test cases repeatedly, and also capture those results in either story or in some centralized location. Also, whenever there are some issues, we need to raise the bug with all the relevant details, and also we need to attach the reports and all. And whenever we will pick up any new project, for the boilerplate code also, we need to repeatedly set all the required framework details in the sorry. So we need to set all these things repeatedly. So this comes with multiple challenges, like we need to repeatedly do the manual task, and there will be a lot of context sharing between like different tools like Jira, Git, even the test management tools, CI/CD, etc. And also in this process, we can say like it's not completely streamlined, and we are experiencing limited reuse, and also we are not achieving the standardization. To overcome with this, MCP server will help us to achieve the standardization of a process by using these different MCP servers available. So it helps us to faster the execution, like we can automate different tasks like creating the bugs, creating the test cases, and attaching those test cases to Jira. Also, like we can attach them in the CI. We can enable the MCP server at the CI/CD as well. Like consider, for example, whenever some automated tests are failing, like in the regression, and we want to raise a bug for that. So we can have the MCP enablement in the CI/CD itself, which will identify the failed test case, and for the respective test, it will be able to create the bugs in the Jira. So that also we will be able to achieve. And MCPs, we can plug whichever MCPs we want. Like MCPs acts like it's a USB connector. So whichever configurations we need, we can simply plug that, and we will be able to use those configurations in our any MCP client like VS Code, Cloud Desktop, Client, etc. And as we also know that MCP servers will come up with some of the security issues. So to overcome that, we should make sure that we should go through, like, don't blindly use the MCP server. Make sure that you will try to understand the security aspects, and use some isolated environment for using the MCP servers. And also MCP servers, like they are scalable, like we can use whichever configurations you wish. Like we can attach multiple MCP server. Like I want to set up the rest assured framework, so we can have the rest assured ka MCP. I want to connect with the Jira. For that, we can have MCP Atlassian. That will help us to connect with Jira as well as Confluence. So we can have the scalability. We can achieve the scalability by connecting different MCP servers in our MCP client. And also MCP servers, like they are open source as well as extensible. We are having multiple community driven MCP servers, and also we can create our own customized MCP server. Like for example, I want to like whenever there is a code check-in done, by default we run, like most of us will run the entire regression suite, even though all the test cases are needed to be executed or not. So that for due to that, the feedback time will be more. Instead of that, we can have some MCP servers which can identify the dependent modules, and it will pick up only those tests which are necessary to be run whenever the code changes is done. And it will pick up only those test cases and give us the result in a less time. So that will improve the feedback cycle as well. So these are few advantages of using the MCP in QA lifecycle. Okay. Okay. So these are few MCP servers which are publicly available. Like we have Playwright and Selenium for test automation. And if I want to work on few files from my system, like I have a requirement document in my system, and I want to use that, and I want to give that knowledge to LLM, so that LLM can read those details, and it should be able to create the story, or it should be able to create the uh, uh, API test based on some contracts which are saved in a file. So that can be done with the help of this file system MCP. Like this, we have Atlassian MCP, which will help us to connect with Jira or Confluence. We have a few test management related MCP servers as well, like Zephyr, X-Ray, and also there are multiple non-functional testing MCP servers are also available. Like for accessibility, we can use A11 by MCP. So these are some examples we have picked. Apart from this, there are multiple servers hosted. So we can first check the security aspects of using those, and we can pick anyone which are relevant to our project. Okay. So as I mentioned, we should before using the MCP servers in our project, first we need to take care of the security precautions. So few of them would be, don't blindly trust. So always review the publicly available repos and then configure them in your MCP client, and try to run them in the isolated platform, and also try to use VMwares for running the MCPs, and use security authentication as well as access controls. Like you can use token based authentication, role based, etc. And don't never save the hard coded credentials. So use some environment variables or secret management tools. And also try to sanitize the logs, like avoid logging sensitive data. And also we can clean up the data before sharing it to any tool. And audit logging and monitoring. So we also need to track like who triggered what. Like we can keep track of this, and we will be able to identify that if there is any issues arises. And also we can define the scope and privileges. So as we know that we should follow the principle of least privilege. Okay. So allow only the minimum access required for the task, and define the timeouts and rate limits so that we can protect against the abuse by setting request timeouts. Okay. So like this, we can take the precautions related to security. So now let's move to demo. So before moving to demo, let's go through one of the GitHub repo for one of the MCP servers. So I'm picking this MCP Atlassian, which has a support for Confluence as well as Jira. So you can see here, these are few examples. Like it will help us to automatic Jira updates as well as we can connect to Confluence. And to set up this in our MCP client, they have given the details. So for now, for demoing, I'm using this plain text one. So you can copy this and configure that in any of the MCP client. And they have also explained about different approaches which you can follow to set up that in your client. Like you can set up the variables in environment variables, and you can access, you can use OAuth configurations for security purpose. So we can follow any one of that, and you can configure that in the any MCP client like Claude or Claude Desktop or VS Code. And these are different tools listed, like Jira Get Issues, which will help us to get all the issues present in the Jira. Okay, so let's start with the Claude. Let me take a. Now here you can see different tools available. You can list here, like for now I have configured REST API, file system, A11 and Playwright. So these are the different tools. MCP servers I have configured, so I'm able to see them in the tool. If I want to add or update any tools, we can go to Claude, settings, developer, and here I can see the different configurations. You can click on edit config. It will redirect us to the Claude desktop config JSON. We can open this up, and we can see the configurations which we have added. From here, we can either add or remove the configurations as per our need. Okay. Now, so whatever details I am adding, so VS Code has a capability of listing them here as well. Like if you see here, I'll go to agents and tools. It is able to pick the data from Cloud Desktop, and it is able to list the tools. Okay. And if I want to have those configurations in my VS Code, that is also possible. We can go to add more tools, and here I can add the MCP servers. You can follow the respective process. If we configure here, it will be at the global level. And if I want to configure MCP server at the specific project level, you can also do by creating the mcp.json in this project specific file. Okay. Now let's start with one use case. So initially, whenever we get a project, consider I have a story and I want to create the test case for that. So at present, I don't have a story, so I'll take the help of the MCP Atlassian server, MCP server to create a story. So have a prompt here. We'll just use it. So here, what I am doing, I have a requirement listed in this file. Okay, login feature requirement for Orange HRM. So this file consists of the requirements related to login feature of Orange HRM. I want the LLM MCP server to read the content of that, and it should create a detailed story in the Jira. So we can see here it is trying to list all the allowed directories, because it is trying to now use the file system, because I have asked them to refer the document which is present in documents. It is able to read the file and it is able to find the project in my Jira, and it is trying to create the story. So like this, we can take the help of file system as well to read the data from the files. Like sometimes we need to read the test data from the Excel file or some other files. So we can have this MCP server, which will enable us to access the file system. It's analyzing. So it is trying to update other details also, like in scope and other technical requirements too. So as we can see, it has created a story with complete details. We can see the ACs, like it has added the happy path as well as error related ACs. So also it has listed the in-scope and out-of-scope items. Okay. So now as a QA, once the story is ready, we need to create the test cases and we need to execute. So let me provide some prompt. So in which I want to create the test cases for that story, and I want to attach them as a subtask in that story. And after that, I want to execute them and attach the report back in the story. So I'm just giving this prompt. So meanwhile, it is working here. I'll give the other prompt in the VS Code. So we can see different tools getting accessed and it's trying to so for now, I had used the same thing for creating here. So let me use that demo. So here you can see these were the test cases created by LLM, and MCP Atlassian is able to update the results as well as it is able to update the status and other relevant details here. So we can also say that like in the test data, I haven't provided any test data, but it has a capability to, as I had given the URL in the prompt, it is able to launch that application and it is able to capture the data from here. And it updated the Jira as per those details. So like this, it is able to create the test, attach it as a subtask, and it is able to execute the test. It is able to execute the test because we have configured Playwright. So it has the capability to launch the application and also execute the test. And it can also provide the evidences in the story as well as in the test. Okay, and we can also use some test management tools for tracking the coverage and all, like Zephyr we can configure. We can use X-ray MCP as well to achieve this task. Okay. Now now I want to do the accessibility testing for the same application. For that, I'm just giving a simple prompt that give me an accessibility summary for this application. Okay, you can give any prompt as per your need. So for accessibility, I have configured A11Y tool. So it is able to go through the application and it will publish the complete report. So you can see total passed. So issues by severity. So it is showing us like color contrast issue, missing language attribute. So it is showing us the detailed report. So even if you want to attach this to a Jira also, you can just give a simple prompt. So it will be able to capture this result in Jira as well. So like this, we can use multiple MCP servers to accelerate our task. So even if I want to set up the framework from scratch, so that can also be achieved. Like we can now I want to set up the Playwright or rest assured framework. So I can give the prompt like and you can enhance this on top of this. Like we can give the complete structure. So let me give the complete prompt itself. So use it like a pair programming. So you can just, whatever issues it is facing, you just give it a proper, sorry, I was using ask, so it is giving that issue. So we need to enable the agent mode, then only it will be able to identify those tools. So it is taking time. So as we are running out of time, so here you can see it will be able to achieve this. It will create different different folder structures. It will be able to create the base test and other formats. So we can give the detailed instructions like this, like whatever your framework requirements are, there like build system should be Gradle and it should use TestNG framework. We can also define the dependencies on all. So if you give the detailed framework structure, it will be able to create the structure as per our requirements. So we can also set up the UI automation framework in the similar manner. So we can just have that MCP added here and we can use that capability and make sure that that tool is getting listed here. So you can see the framework is getting built. So it will take more time for creating the framework. So you can just use the MCP servers and accelerate your task as per your requirements. So just make sure that before using MCP server, you do analysis related to security and then use it. Yeah, thank you all. So over to you, Sushant.
Thank you all. Thank you, Payal. Thank you, Shakuntala, for this wonderful start of this session. So far we have covered what is MCP, how it works. Shakuntala has ran us through different use cases in which we can use the MCP server for our QA purposes. So far, I would like to ask, so far, are you good with the content that you have seen? Do you have any questions? Because next we would be seeing how you can create your own MCP server. Like, so far we have seen the examples where we are using the MCP server created by someone else. Now we would be seeing on the ways where we would create our own server. So feel free to ask if you have any question. If you, yeah, I'll wait for a few seconds. Hello.
If we want to run Playwright related things, we need to already install the Playwright, is it, in our local?
No. You don't need to install the Playwright. You just need to configure the MCP server of Playwright into your code editor. That's it.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Anything else? Like for any of the MCP server demoed by Shakuntala, there is no need to install anything. Just you have to configure the server onto your code editor or the client.
Are we need to enable any of the security related things or disable anything if we want to use it in our Thoughtworks laptop?
So far, what we have tried, we have vetted on their reliability. Like we have checked, we have ran the OWASP checks through each of the library that we used. We curated each of the, and then we used on our laptop. So we would also recommend you that you do a thorough check before you use any of the MCP server. So most of them are open source or created by reliable organizations. Like some of them are created by Microsoft, some of them are created by Anthropic. So do your checks before you use them. Yeah, that's what I would like to say.
Yeah, thanks, Sushil.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so let me share my screen. So now we would understand why we would need to create our own MCP servers. So Payal gave a very good analogy of a waiter and a restaurant. You go to a restaurant and you check with the waiter that you are allergic to specific food and you would need the specific way. Okay. So uh, so that's example of a MCP server created by someone else. Now I'll give you a similar analogy. So if you have a cook at your own house, then it is similar to having your own custom MCP server. So let's take a look at the reasons why we need a custom MCP server. So, our tools, like if you take example of a Playwright framework, or any traditional tools that we are using, they are static. They are not empowered with the LLM. So what we do here, we use a standard protocol, which is MCP, to empower our traditional tools with intelligence. And when we use our own custom MCP servers, we give a good project context to our server. As it is created by our own, we can provide the context. As it has access to relevant documentations and acceptance criteria, it will generate the relevant test cases. It can easily get integrated within your existing frameworks and tools. And it will be very easy to automate the repetitive task with intelligent suggestions. So that's part one on why we need our own custom MCP server. And then there is a part two. Part two is security reasons. It is very, very important to make sure that whatever servers we are using are secured. So when you are using MCP servers created by someone else, there is always a risk of leaking of code and data exposure. There is a possibility that your sensitive files and test data might get sent to the third-party LLMs. When you create your own MCP server, you bundle your server with the LLM that you host yourself. So it is safe and secure. And last one is you have a full control on your data privacy, model behavior, and toolset security. Are we good so far? Shall we move? Okay. So how do we do this? So Anthropic has created a library with name Fast MCP, which allows us to create our own MCP server. Now I will give you people a walkthrough and explanation on how we can use our own MCP server. First of all, what I will do, I will demo you people the MCP server which I have created. So I am a data quality enthusiast and I have created an MCP server where a data, I provide a set of data to my MCP server, and MCP server comes up with the rules, data quality rules, or MCP server performs the data profiling. It finds out the issue in my data. So first of all, I will walk you through the data. So this is our data. So this is the file which I will be using. So it's a dummy file with some induced quality issues. And this file I would pass on to my MCP server. So let's move to Claude. And in the Claude here, you can see that the data quality MCP server along with all the methods. So these are all available methods of my MCP server, which I can use. Okay. I have created some custom prompts, which I would pass on to Claude now. So this is my first prompt. First prompt is analyze the data quality of my CSV file at so and so location and tell me the issues which you find. Okay. So this is my first prompt. Okay, so far so good. Are you all with me? Feel free to unmute yourself and ask if you have anything pressing. I want all of you to feel free about it. Okay, so wait a minute. Why? Fine. For a moment, I was like, why it's doing the analysis on its own. But finally, LLM understood that, okay, I have a data quality MCP server with me, and it redirected its call to the server which we have created. So I am allowing to execute the command, and now it is analyzing the data file. So here you can see that the request was, this is the file path and analyze the data. Okay. And this is the response. So it has come up with the, all the analysis. Okay. And after doing the analysis, now it is coming up with the, it has interpreted the response. So whatever response you are seeing in the JSON, this Claude has interpreted this response, and it is giving me a score of 60 out of 100. And it is mentioning the issues. So name is missing, 4% missing values, age is missing, or whatever the inconsistent naming formats, and so on. So it has provided me the output. I would like to tell you the logic to process this is not written by LLM. The logic to process this is I have already written in my utilities. So here you can see we have all the rule generator and validators are already written, and LLM is just empowering our already written utility. So that's what I wanted to highlight. So far, so good. Are you all with me? Do you have any questions, concerns, comments? Feel free to ask. Are we all good? Are you all following? I feel like, okay. Yeah, someone has raised the hand. Please go ahead.
No, I think we are following. Please go ahead, Susan.
Okay, thank you.
One
so
question here, Sushant. Sorry to
sure.
interrupt.
No,
Yeah,
fine.
so see this MCP server, are we able to run this MCP server only on the cloud desktop itself, or without cloud also we can?
Without Cloud also, you can run this. Cloud is just a client for accessing your MCP server. Like Shakuntala has demonstrated na, through VS
Yeah.
Code, she was running the MCP commands. So Cloud is just a client.
So if we don't have cloud, then also we would be able to run this.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay.
VS Code is there, cursor is there.
Mhm.
Or you can create your own client, not an issue.
Okay. Sure. Thanks.
Anyone else? Any question? Okay, I'll move on to the next prompt. I'll just give a glimpse on how it can uh, do. So these are different tools. Okay, so generate accounts with data profile. So it will profile the file. Again, it is going to the tool that I have created in the custom MCP server, and it is asking me for the permission. Something went wrong. Okay, it is retrying. It is getting the data profile first. Now, when it understood the data profile, it moved further, and yeah, here you can see the data source, and this is the profile of the data. And here Claude has interpreting this data in this format. Like it is giving primary key, employee age, contact email, department, and so on. So far, so good. Are we all good on how it works? I can walk you through the code. Just give me let me know if you have any questions. I'll walk you through the code on how it was created.
One question here. Sorry, I think I joined late. So how your custom MCP server is being accessed by Claude? I mean,
Sure. So here you go to the settings, and in the settings you can see the developer, and in the developer you can see the config. So here two of my servers are being displayed. What you simply do is you configure your MCP server over here, and it will be available. So one of my very basic, my calculator server is here, and another is data quality.
okay.
Okay. Okay, so are we all good? We might need. Yeah, I mean, definitely, Saurabh, LLM are now part of our life, and we have to accept to it. Okay, so let me open the code. So, as I explained, we are importing the fast MCP and initializing of the primary application object. Some of the important things I would like you to highlight, that some of the decorators mentioned in fast MCP are used. So here you can see that mcp.tool is the decorator. So whatever code I would write under the decorator will pop up as my tool in the Claude. So here you can see analyze data file, and when you go to the Claude, and when you go to the, yeah, here you can see analyze data file. So whatever we write under the decorator MCP tool, it will be available as a tool. So this is how you create all your tools or specific commands. So that's the standard way of creation of your tooling. So it was very specific, and then you wrap your server functionality in an SH file, and you refer that SH file in the config. So that is it about code. And then there are our specific utilities, which are again called, like if you see these tools are referring to the utilities. This is not AI, this is our plain, the LLM is not doing anything here. The utilities are being called. Okay, let me see what we have we have to keep a check on time as well. Okay, so let me move to the next slide. So that was about how do you create your own MCP server. Then, as Shakuntala demoed, we can configure it with the VS Code, and we can use it. You create your own JSON file and you use it with the VS Code. Okay. So what are the benefits of your MCP servers and using fast MCP. So you create only one MCP server and there will be multiple clients. You can use Claude, you can use VS Code, and there is no need to create any setup, zero manual setup. You don't need to set up Playwright. So what you can do, if you have 5 QAs in your team, you configure an MCP server somewhere on a server, on a cloud server or somewhere, and you simply access it. Everyone doesn't need to clone your repository or import any libraries. You simply configure that particular MCP server, and within your project, you can access it. So no need to do any setup, direct tool access, real-time results. It is cross-platform, like it is language agnostic. MCP server can be written in any language, and your client or whatever code that you are writing, it can be present in any language. MCP server can be written in Python, but your programming is test automation is Java, so it would work. So those are some benefits. Then what are other use cases? You can generate the test cases. You can summarize your test results. You can enable your regression testing. Those are some of the typical use cases which you can use. And what are other use cases? You can do a security testing, security test generation. You can just provide a URL to your OWASP MCP server, and that particular URL will do all the necessary scanning and checks of that your application. So that's all about MCP server. Creating your own MCP server. There are many use cases which you can have. Feel free to ask questions, or we can move to the next part, where Rashmi will talk about most anticipated. Okay, I am in raised hand. Why? Yeah, so Rashmi will talk about most anticipated Playwright MCP.
Hey, thanks, Sushant. That was a wonderful session. Hello, everyone. Rashmi Gupta this side. So we'll be just going through this Playwright MCP. So when this comes to your mind, Playwright MCP, does this sound something complex? So, but don't worry, I'll be explaining it in a very layman manner, in a very simpler way. So we'll be getting to understand what exactly Playwright MCP is. So we'll be first going through the slides, and then we'll be showcasing the our Git repository where I've put out all our codes and the README files, and then I'll be showcasing with the demo part. So first of all, what is like Playwright MCP? So if you want like a kind of some smart assistants or kind of a robot, basically, who is going to perform every kind of operations, like, clicking of the some buttons or clicking over the browsers, navigating to various screens, everything done on by own. So there comes the powerful the powerful language is Playwright, and which is again combined by a powerful language model, which is known as the MCP, that is Model Context Protocol. So here, Model Context Protocol server will enable the server to interact with the web pages through a structured accessibility tree. So I'll be showcasing what is accessibility tree also in the next slides. So coming up to the how does basically the Playwright MCP block diagram looks like and how does it functions. So basically MCP server act as a mid server which is going to provide the context for. So now let's say it's just integrating your ID, let's say some VS Code or any of your ID, and it will be then providing your context, and its MCP is kind of some LLM or AI assistant, and then it can integrate and provide information to the external applications like Confluence, Jira, etc. Okay, so in this way also we can integrate with some other MCP clients like Gemini, Git Copilot, and Claude, and so many external clients are available. So here comes the most, the core operation of the MCP server, that is the sample accessibility tree. So now when this accessibility tree comes into picture, what exactly comes to your mind? So it would be like you can think it of as some family tree where you would be having a grandparent, then you'll be having a parent, then children, then siblings. So this is the kind of the tree or the configuration. Now, why the sample accessibility tree is basically what is this? So now when MCP server is working, so this MCP server is going, when it is finding the locator, it is going to interact with the web pages in this form, where it will be finding its some kind of like role documented the first, then the children as the name of the website, the forms and the buttons. So internally, when MCP server is finding its locator, it should be able to interact with something like this kind of a accessibility tree web page. Okay. Then, okay. Now again, here comes another important thing, that what are the profiles in the Playwright MCP. So this is like persistent is the default one. So now let's say you're just logging into some session and you're just coming again to the next day, and you want everything back. Yeah, your all historical data to be saved in a similar way, and everything should be there. So in that way, you can select for the persistent, the default mode, where all the logged information will be present. So I'll be showcasing the demo in the default mode itself. In case you want to go for the isolated, there is just a small change in the code which you can provide, and then it would be easier. Now, like what is isolated? So let's say if you can take an example when you're working in an incognito mode. So here, everything when you're just coming up to this the isolated session, everything will be starting afresh. It would be a clean data. So no historical, no information would be present in the isolated ones. Then, okay. Then next, let us move to the what are the tools supported by the Playwright MCP. So basically, MCP works on the two modes. That would be a snapshot mode and a vision mode. Now, what does it signifies? Now, when it comes to snapshot mode, it's basically it's a kind of a internal working where the map, it would be interacting with a digital kind of a map. The map which I showed you in this accessibility tree, it would be interacting internally with this kind of the map, and you will not be able to see anything. Whereas when it comes to vision mode, everything you will be able to see in the computer screen itself, and the map would be like a readable once itself. So now, when to choose when, like which mode you should go when. So when you want some like performance and reliability, more of performance and reliability, in that case you can take the snapshot mode. Whereas when you want some, the visual based interactions, you want to interact virtually with your screens, then you can go for the vision mode. Then this is another important slide, like what are the tools are available to interact with the MCP. I'll be showcasing the Git repo as well. So here you'll be having the various kind of operations like the navigation tools, resources, navigation as such to how to navigate from one screen to another, switching on to the multiple tabs, the child and the window tabs, again the vision mode. Now here comes the most important slide, how like exactly we have configured, like I have configured for the functioning of the operations in my MCP server. So just make sure you're having the Node.js version 18 or more, and then you can connect your MCP with your VS Code with some MCP client like Claude or GitHub Copilot, Gemini, or like these configurations. And then this is a simpler JSON code. And if in case you just want the isolated mode, you can just, you can make it like a isolated one here by writing it. So this was the case of the presentation. Now quickly, I'll just go through the Git repo, which is made by me. So you can find all the README file here, all the descriptive information would be provided here. Now, when you go to the source, so let's say, see, entire description is laid down here. So let's say if you're just going to the tools section and you're going to the navigate section, again, you'll be finding various codes, entire thing here, like how to capture the screenshot, how to move forward, navigate back. And let's say if you want to provide any mouse hovering actions, then these are the methods, like how to provide the mouse click, right click and the double click, mouse drag. Everything is laid down here. Okay, so now I'll just showcase the demo part. Yes. So this is the framework which I have set up for our MCP functioning. I'll like briefly explain the framework first of all. So now, okay, so this is our framework where we can see the package.json file. All the configurations are set up here. You can play with the parameters over here according to your requirements. Okay. We are having the config file as well here. You can change the browser configurations, the mode, etc. from here. Then all of your test cases which you are executing, it will be going under source under test, like see config test, frames test, everything would be listed down here. Then we are also having after the execution of test cases, you're having the Playwright report as well. It can be generated in the index.html file, and then you can view in this manner as well. So now what I'll be doing, okay. So I'll be performing these many set of small operations to show how does it work. So now for that, just make sure that your VS Code is connected to some GitHub open Copilot. Okay, you can also get it like free from our organization itself for the demo purpose things. And now once you have integrated your GitHub with this, you'll be getting the open chat option from the GitHub itself. Okay, and now, so let us begin. So now let's say you are putting this in the ask mode and you're simply giving some direction as open Chrome browser. So you can see it would be just providing us the theoretical description. So it does not work. So now what is the benefit of the Git Copilot or the MCP server rather, I would say. So now just make sure that you have put it into the agent mode. Click on the add tools, and then go to add more tools. Click on add MCP server, and here just click onto this HTTP server. Now once you have done so, you can copy this playwright.mcp server. Once you click the same and you press enter, so you'll be getting the configurations as user settings or the workspace settings. You can go for the user space settings. And once you enter, so you will be getting the server like this. So once you have got the server in this way, just start it. So here we see that the server is running, and now just make sure that also we are having this our MCP Playwright thing is tick mark. Okay. Now let us quickly perform all the operations over here. So first of all, we want to apply the operation as act as an automation QA and perform the following operation. Open Chrome browser and maximize in interactive mode. So by default, it is in the headless mode itself. Yeah, so the Chrome browser was already open in the interactive mode and it maximized as per to our instructions here. So we'll be performing our next operation that launched the Internet Heroku app. Okay, I'll minimize this thing so that we can see. And also, yeah. Yeah, so it is just taking us the URL as the Heroku app, and it opened our Heroku app here. Okay, so then click on the drop down and select option 2 and then navigate back. So see, it just selected an option and it clicked on the option number 2 and it will it moved to the back to the screen. Then navigate to the inputs and enter the sample number. See, so it just took the input here and it would be navigating back. Then navigate to shadow DOM section and get all the elements of the shadow DOM. So it just made that DOM section and it moved back. Okay. So then navigate to frames and nested frames, go to the bottommost frame and come back to main. See, it formed like these kinds of the frame. And then it came back to the frame section. Okay, then navigate to hovers over user and click on profile. It just moved to this hover section. Okay, and then it clicked back and gave us the title. Okay, then moving on to last operation, navigate to Windows and click on there, open a new window and navigate to same to get the title. Okay. See, it just opened a new window and then it navigate back and gave us the title. Okay. So now let's say if we want to generate the test cases for the same. Sorry, it just gave us the complete results. So you can see yeah. So it has started generating the test cases in TypeScript for us. And now suppose, see, it's coming in. Yeah. And now let's say if we want to generate the Playwright report also for the same. So it is just generating here. And then
Hey Rashmi, quick time check. We are over time.
yeah, okay. So once this process is done, you'll be getting the reports in this form where you can see these test cases would be executed in this form where your all these operations will be saved in this way. Okay, and also your failed test cases will be recorded. Let's say Yeah, like here, if some of these screenshots, if it's failed, it would be recording in this way. So this was all about the MCP server integration with Copilot. So we have provided all the GitHub repositories and the recordings as well with us. So yeah, team, thank you all for this patient listening. Open to questions, folks.
Hello, all. Feel free to ask questions. We will be putting it on GitHub as well for all you all to refer it. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Samar, Uma, Nivas, Badmavati, Darsana. Any questions? Any comments, concerns?
Just one add point, like, there is some context MCP server, something I was looking for some time back. That might help to give, like, it is not just for Playwright, but for any other thing, what you are doing LLM, right? Because as usual, the LLM always have outdated data, because the training data probably 1 year back or something like that. So any context MCP server can give you the recent information about something. So the chaining what you showed, right? With a context MCP give you better context.
Yeah, we can definitely have a context for MCP server. MCP at the end of the day, just a protocol.
Yes.
Behind your MCP, your LLM application is running. It could be your LangChain application, it could be an RHE application, it could be anything. MCP is just a protocol. So yes, definitely we can create a context based. We can have a vectored database appended to our MCP, and we can definitely do that.
Yeah, hey, I would like to answer that itself. So even if you want to give some like user variables, user inputs, here we are having like add context thing also. So here you can provide your input variables in the form of some JSON or your text file itself. So depending upon your input variables, it would give the responses. So it can act like that even.
Nice. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, that is it from all of us. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Yeah, great to see you all. Bye-bye.